Hey guys, Energy Madeline here with another little parable, I guess you could say, a little story that's been helping me out a ton. And everyone that I've told this to so far has had a really different and touching reaction to it. So I hope it helps you the same way that it's been helping me. So again, we're gonna imagine ourselves there. We're walking from one place to another, as we do in many stories about life. So imagine a beautiful castle, and one of the servants is walking out of the castle, and his job every morning is to go out and get water. So super old school, actually something that I feel like if this was my life, it'd be pretty relaxing. But you wake up in the morning, put one of those giant, sticks on your back with two buckets on the side, and you start out on your trek and you're walking to go get water. So this man, he gets to the well, as he does every single morning, and starts filling up the buckets. And he's noticed this before, but this morning it just happens to catch his eye a little bit. One of the buckets happens to be leaking. Not a ton, not enough to throw the bucket away, but it's drip, drip, dripping. And he just keeps walking back like he always does. All of a sudden he hears something weird. This is where it's for sure a story. The bucket starts talking to him. And the robust, full bucket, he ain't got no time to be chit-chatting. He's holding all of his water. He's just there, very stoic. This other, more insecure bucket starts talking to this gentleman saying, I feel like you should replace me. Are you not seeing that I'm leaking? My job's to be a bucket. That's my job. Look at this fucking guy over here. I should be like him. I'm dripping, and it's my fault, but also why won't you release me from this? And I think we can all think up a couple of analogies, to this. We've all been super mean to our, 14-year-old boyfriend at the time, and tried to make him break up with you. And sometimes we stop trying in a job that we don't care about because we don't want to be there anymore. And we've all done it. And this poor bucket is feeling like shit about himself. He's feeling like shit about his friend because he's this is just not working out for either of us. The master at the castle's not getting all of the water. It's just a super bad situation for everybody. He's been super apocalyptic about it. So this guy who's walking like he always does, he's just kind of enjoying the view. He's you don't understand. Just trust me. You're doing a good job. I carry you, at the end of the day. Yeah, I work for the master, but you kind of work for me a little bit. So you can imagine a parent, a boss, even a partner, significant other, just say, trust me. I'm telling you right now, you're doing okay. My therapist does this for me, right? Best friends, everybody. Always have somebody, if you can, that's just there to tell you, you're okay. If you have insurance and you don't have a therapist, here's your sign to do that. But I digress. So this guy's just walking, and he's listen, bucket, I love you. And I need you just as much as I need this bucket. One day you'll understand, just trust me. Bucket, not trusting him, again, super insecure for what we can now see, or maybe obvious reasons, there is something wrong with him, right? He's supposed to be a bucket, he's leaky, what is this guy talking about? Is he trying to teach me a lesson? Probably. So goes on and on and on like this for days, weeks, months, years, as always. This bucket still not cracking, not breaking completely, still carrying a relatively significant amount of water back up to the castle, but leaking always along the way. One day the bucket just cannot take it anymore. He's you have to tell me why you're doing this to me. Why are you making me perform under par? It's excruciating comparing myself to this person. I'll never be enough. Please, release me of this. The gentleman just takes him down, sets him down, and says, look, from the well all the way back to the castle, along the path that they've been walking for decades together. On only one side, there is a beautiful row of flowers. From the well to the castle, it just looks like a rainbow explosion of like beautifulness. Just the whole entire side of the broken, leaky bucket is heaven on earth. And the bucket hadn't noticed because he'd been so fucking self-absorbed this whole time, freaking out, that this guy's been collecting flowers and bringing them back with him for decades. So yes, he's bringing water back to the castle for everyone, but he's also bringing back gorgeous, beautiful flowers, fresh. I can imagine vases everywhere. Like, clearly I'm a plant person, right? So I'm obsessed with this. And the probably figuring out the moral of the story is that this beautiful bucket, who thought that he was so broken and hated himself and hated his life and just could not go on any longer, was not trusting this person who had him, in his care and was saying, trust me, you're not broken, you're perfect, I need you. He'd been watering these beautiful seeds that turned into flowers for decades. He had been bringing so much more than he ever thought himself capable of bringing just by being himself. His brokenness was his perfection. And I say this all the time, that perfection is really a myth, but like, if you can think about the fact that you are perfect the way you are, perfect is not a set of standards. There's no rubric. There's no such thing as being a perfect daughter. There's no such thing as being a perfect parent. There's no such thing as being a perfect colleague or employee or boss. There's no such thing as being a perfect person. And our standards for ourselves and what we think is perfect change all the time. We move the finish line on ourselves constantly. It's like a ridiculous game. So what I would say is think about the things that you really don't like about yourself and try to see how, if you just zoomed out a little bit, that might be something that's very valuable to yourself. It might be self-preservation. It might be very valuable to other people. It takes all kinds to make a world. And what this story really made me start thinking, and I guess remembering, but also like learning for the first time, was that you can't make everyone happy. Not everybody's gonna like you. You can't be everything to everybody. And if this bucket had embraced his authentic self, maybe he would have noticed that this gentleman had been picking flowers and been like, boss, you wouldn't have these flowers without me. This guy's got no flowers, like, just saying. Like, there are things about you that are valuable that just because you don't either think other people will see them as valuable or you haven't noticed because you're so obsessed over what you don't have. Like, I'm not a math person. I'm never going to be an Excel genius. Like, I've come to terms with that because there are other things that I'm good at and I can ask for help. And I don't have to be super scared and embarrassed that I'm not perfect at everything because no one is perfect at everything. And one of my biggest breakthrough moments that this story helped me to achieve is one of my first therapy sessions I had. My therapist asked me, so who are you? Like, who is Madeline? And I broke the fuck down completely, sobbing, because I realized that without knowing who was asking me that question, I didn't know how to answer. Like, I had this realization that I'd been living this I'll just be whoever you need me to be, kind of it was devastating. Like, I can make light of it now because I've come a long way, but it was so hard for me to realize that I had been hating what I didn't have or things that I had that I didn't want, and I've been wanting other things, and I've been focusing so much on the negative that I hadn't just like taken a moment to think, okay, well, what is unique about me? Period. like what, who am I? And like without putting judgment on whether those things were good or bad, I was able to then articulate, like, this is something about myself. This is my true self. Some people are going to like that. Some people are not going to like that. And that has to be okay. And the way I was able to make that kind of quantum leap of not everybody's going to like me and that's okay was when I realized that if I am conforming, like subtly changing myself to be what I think that person's gonna like in the moment, it really felt kind of me to do that. Like, I want to make them comfortable. Like, let me kind of like, you know, reflect what they project and like be that version of myself for them. And now looking back on it, I'm like, kind of creepy, babe, to like be switching it up like that for different people. Like, I realized I never wanted there to be a situation where someone was like, weird, like, that's not the Maddie I know. Like, I want when people to think of me, for them to think of who I am, what I stand for. I want to be consistent. I want them to kind of know what they're going to get. That doesn't mean that I can't change and adapt and grow, but I'm doing that based on experiences. It's, you know, in a very long-term kind of high-level view. It's not like a crazy, you know, peak and valley change. And I've become just much more comfortable in my own skin. And I think that that's really, really helped me just to be able to say 5 to 10 legitimate, true things about myself. And whether they're good or bad, I might not know right now. It might be unknowable. Maybe I haven't had a situation in life where I could use that skill yet. Maybe I'm so self-absorbed in the moment because we're all human and it happens, and I haven't been able to zoom out and actually see what the fuck's going on in the long arc of my life, that I'm like the bucket. I'm fucking leaking over here, guys. Like, you shouldn't want to hire me. You shouldn't want to employ me. You shouldn't want to date me. I don't deserve anything I have. Like, total shame spiral happening all the time. And now thinking of this fucking bucket, like full on Disney, like inanimate object, adorable bucket that I like meditate on every morning, watering these fucking flowers for decades, hating himself. And like that, my air intake ends, like as if to emphasize my point. Like, take a breath, say like 2 nice things about yourself, and it's going to make you so uncomfortable. Saying I'm a good daughter out loud was very uncomfortable for a while because I didn't believe it, and I had to like convince myself to get there. I deserve my job. Like, my company is lucky to employ me. I have been trained to think the flip side for a decade, right? Like, I should be so lucky to be at this company. Like, I need to do everything to prove that I'm so grateful and that I would do anything. It's like, well, no, like, they're lucky to have me too. Like, I'm a great partner. I'm a great friend. And I'm sure that if those things aren't true for you, like, there's definitely things about you that are legitimate, that are helpful in this world, that bring joy. Like, if you're creative, if you play fucking games on the internet and you make an 11-year-old laugh, like my friend's son used to laugh, like, you're bringing joy into this world. Like, everyone needs to just chill the fuck out. These like unreachable standards of what we will then allow ourselves to celebrate. You know, like Mr. Macho Buckets, like if he ever leaked 1 drop, he would just be ruined. Like, just live your life and know that sometimes your brokenness is actually your beauty. Your brokenness can be your strength, what you hate about yourself, what you think other people might hate about you. Like, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but like, some people do hate it about you. But like, that's okay. That has to be okay. So be like our friend the bucket at the end of the story when he starts like noticing all the beautiful flowers. And your homework, say 2 nice things about yourself. I am, and say them out loud, and it's gonna feel weird. Practice. Keep saying nice things about yourself, because I promise you, when more time passes, you will see that your brokenness is actually your beauty. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like it. Turn your alerts on, because it'll basically be like we're friends and I'm texting you and, sharing good vibes with you. So be gentle with yourselves. I really hope this helps, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, Energy Madeline here, and I wanted to share a story that I